Hey guys, welcome back to Ask Cam Doc. My name's Shane and I'm finally a medical student and neuroscience supervisor at the University of Cambridge. And this is a day in the life of a Cambridge medical student. So we've actually got quite a busy day today. I'm actually going to get into my car in a bit and drive to Hinchingbrook Hospital, where I'm going to be meeting a doctor at around 8:45 AM in order to carry out some anaesthetics procedures, which is essentially what happens just before an operation. A doctor called an anaesthetist will go meet the patient, talk to them, and we will get them into the operating theatre, and just before they go in, anaesthetise them. And what that involves is we're going to be giving them certain medications or drugs which will make them very sleepy and make the whole procedure painless, and they'll be unaware and unconscious throughout the whole operation. That on my side will involve two things. The one is airway management, so that essentially involves putting in a tube down their throat in order to make sure they have enough oxygen and air during the operation, because obviously when they're unconscious or anaesthetised, they won't be able to breathe for themselves. So we attach this kind of tube down the throat, connect it up to what's called a ventilator, and that makes sure that they get enough oxygen and essentially does the whole process of breathing, but externally via this machine. And the second part is actually the cannulation. So we essentially insert a tube down one of the veins in either the hand or the arm. What that will allow us to do is give medications that's going to make the patient sleepy and be unconscious throughout the whole procedure. After that, I'm going to be meeting one of my friends called Zaid, and we're going to be carrying out a little bit of a research project that we've been thinking about. And then afterwards, I have to go to the library, mark a few essays, then hopefully drive back to Cambridge and then give a supervision at Newnham College. Then afterwards, I'm going to head back home and head to the gym. Hopefully by that point, it'll be a reasonable time and I can have dinner and head to bed. So I'm going to be taking you guys along for the journey, and hopefully you guys can see what it is that I do in a typical day. So let's go. So the time is 8:35, just made it in time. It gives me 10 minutes to walk to the operating theatre rooms, get changed into some scrubs and head to the theatre to meet my consultant. So I just got out of theatre. Basically, I went in and the consultant that I was meant to be with, unfortunately, his patients weren't really appropriate for me to manage their airways or really do anything. So he suggested for me to go to a consultant next door, and he was very, very helpful and accommodating, taught me a lot of things, allowed me to get involved. So I saw two procedures this morning. The first one was a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, or also known as a lap chole. Essentially, instead of opening up the abdomen and taking out the gallbladder, they make little incisions and put in portals that allow you to take out the gallbladder without opening up the whole abdomen. That's called a laparoscopic procedure. And the second one was essentially using a laser to remove a very enlarged prostate. That was pretty cool. We had to wear these laser glasses and stuff. For both of them, I was able to manage the patient's airways. So essentially that involves giving them a bit of oxygen, holding the mask very loosely initially, and then carrying out a head tilt chin lift. You make sure that the mask is on very tightly to provide them with as much oxygen as they need. So I'm just about to get changed now, and I'm going to meet a Zaid, and we're going to do a bit of a research thing. So I've come to the clinical skills lab here at Hinchingbrook Hospital in order to practice a little bit of cannulation technique, and hopefully show you guys a little bit about what cannulation is, how to do it, and just explain a little bit about why we actually do it. This is the cannula. This is what we're trying to fit into one of the patient's veins. Essentially, it's a device that has a needle in the end. That's the first thing that's going to come into contact with the skin and then into the vein. And once we've done that, we essentially want to pull back a little bit, because if you look closely, there's actually a plastic tube that's there, and that's what's going to end up in the patient. The needle actually we remove and take out once the tube is inside the vein. So I'll show you how we do that. First thing you want to do is you want to anchor the vein, and then you want to go in looking for something called flashback. Right, so I've got a bit of flashback here. Essentially that's when blood fills up in this little chamber. When I'm happy that I'm relatively in a vein, you pull back a little bit. So once you're happy, you want to advance the cannula all the way in. You know, you could take out the needle a little bit more to make it a little bit easier. Therefore, you're kind of in. This is a reason you can see the red. This is why you should wear gloves. And this device allows us to connect different medications into these portals, and we can give them things like antibiotics to anesthetics agents, which is what we were doing this morning. After you have finished with your procedure, you want to take the needle and put it in a sharp bin. So that was a quick run through of cannulation, why we cannulate. You guys learnt the important lesson of wear gloves. I've got this red stain for the rest of my day. So now I'm going to head to the library, mark a few essays, and then drive back to Cambridge in about half an hour. So just got back from the library, managed to mark everything that I wanted to mark, and now I'm just going to drive back to Cambridge. It actually looks like I've got a bit of time, so what I might do is actually go to the gym now and then supervise later, instead of saving the gym till the end of the day, because it'll be quite tiring. So actually the relatively or quite busy day has turned out to be so far quite chilled. So hopefully it continues to be this chill and supervisions go smoothly and there's not too much traffic on the drive back. But yeah, I will see you guys at the gym. So I've just arrived at Newnham to give a 2-hour-long supervision on emotion. Supervisions are essentially a small group activity where you get about 4 students who come along to a supervision and they talk about a particular subject, in this case neuroscience, and we essentially talk about stuff that they found difficult and we clear up doubts, etc. So it's just another person that they can learn from beyond the lecturer and the lecturers, because often with lectures the problem is, yeah, you have this one person who's just talking at you. It's very difficult to actually put your hand up and ask questions because there are just so many people and it's tricky to get that feedback. That's why you have these small group sessions all happening. So now I'm just going to do my 2-hour supervision and I will catch you guys post-super. So I've just finished giving the supervisions. It was actually really good fun because it was the supervision where we were discussing different ideas, coming up with our own theories, just like learning how to question scientific data, because a lot of the times we take things for granted. And the good thing about emotion is a lot of data, etc., is questionable. We can bring up our own ideas, our own versions. We can say, okay, is this data really legit? Did they do enough controls? Did they think about different ways this could be working? Did they question their own limitations? Did they account for it? So yeah, I really like topics like this because it really does allow you to question things and inquire into it and really be an actual scientist about it. So yeah, it was really good fun, and we learnt quite a lot actually in terms of how to make the most out of medicine. For example, in the morning when I went in expecting to be taught by this consultant and him kind of turning around and saying, actually, you know what, there aren't any good patients for you today, Shane, why don't you go follow someone else? That taught me two things. One, I had to be flexible and agree to that and go over to someone else, but also I had to be quite resilient. I could have very easily thrown a fit and a strop about, actually, you know what, I expected to come and like learn from you, but in this way I actually showed flexibility, resilience, and I actually got a very good learning experience by following this other doctor and learning good airway management and getting involved in cannulation and observing some pretty cool procedures. Another point of flexibility is essentially I expected to only go to the gym basically now after my supervisions, but realizing that I actually had time in the middle and being flexible enough to know that that was a good point to go to the gym and utilizing that is another very good skill, and that plays in well with both flexibility and time management. So building on that, we also learned it's very important to go beyond medicine, because I've talked a lot about the clinical stuff and the medically related things that I've done so far today, but I've also done other things. I've gone to the gym, I've engaged in something that I'm quite passionate about and that I enjoy doing. I met up with some friends, I got involved in some researchy stuff. You know, I did that because I was interested rather than, oh, I had to do this because I had to get a sign off. Go beyond medicine and follow your own passions and just not be tied down into always just like, oh, how can I get the best exam scores? Follow your passions as well, you know, do what you're passionate about, do what you enjoy doing as well. So that is probably one of the biggest take-home points from kind of following me around today and just talking about my day generally. So far then, we've covered flexibility, resilience, time management, and the very important point of following your own passions and going beyond medicine. And the final very, very important lesson is always wear gloves when you're doing any clinical skill procedure, especially if you're cannulating someone, because you don't want blood on your hand. I don't know when this red thing is going to go. So I'm actually going to end my vlogging day right here at Newnham. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed following me around, and hopefully you guys had a very good idea of what a typical day is like for a Cambridge medical student, especially in the clinical years, and you guys got an appreciation of what are the things you need to do in order to succeed as a medical student. But yeah, that's it for me for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, follow, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.